The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, O Lord.
At that time, when John heard in prison about the deeds of the Christ, he sent word by his disciples and said to him, "Are you the one who is to come, or shall we look for another?" And Jesus answered them, "Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk. Lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear, and the dead are raised up. And the poor have good news preached to them. And blessed is the one who is not offended by me." As they went away, Jesus began to speak to the crowds concerning John. "What did you go out into the wilderness to see? A reed shaken by the wind? What then did you go out to see? A man dressed in soft clothing? Behold, those who wear soft clothing are in kings' houses. What then did you go out to see? A prophet. Yes, I tell you, and more than a prophet. This is he of whom it is written, 'Behold, I send my messenger before your face, who will prepare your way before you.' Truly, I say to you, among those born of women, there has risen no one greater than John the Baptist. Yet the one who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Today, my dear friends, we celebrate the third Sunday in this season of Advent, which is called in Latin Gaudete Sunday. Gaudete in Latin means rejoice. So what does it that makes us truly joyful in life? For you and for me, I believe that in our history of life, we all have had moments of joy, experiences of contentment. It can vary to different people. But it is said that true joy comes when there is meeting of God with his people. If you ever go to St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, on top of the roof there are all kinds of drawings which have so much of history in it. And I believe that you have seen two hands coming close to each other. One is of God and the other of a human person. So there is a small space in between the two hands, one coming from the top, the other smaller in size, but it is reaching out. It is said that that drawing was to explain to the people that all of us in our journey of life, we all have to reach out to God when God is also reaching out to us. That's where joy is. That's where the reason for rejoicing comes. The first reading today, taken from the book of Prophet Isaiah, goes back to 700 years before the time of Jesus. And the context of the writing of Isaiah was when the people of Israel were living in Babylon. Why? If you study the history of Israel, it was a small country with a small population of people. And of course, unfortunately, they had the stupidest kings that you can ever imagine, because they belonged to a certain dynasty, and they were men who did not have much brains. So, unfortunately for Israel, there was on one side the Assyrian kingdom, which was an empire. It had a powerful king. They had money. They had armies. They had power. So they had destroyed the country earlier on. And then the people of Israel somehow came through that suffering under the Assyrians. And now around 7th century, it was the Babylonian kings who had overpowered Israel, again taken the people away from their land to be in exile as slaves. So at that time, the people had lost hope, because when you think of your own country, your nation, you realize that you are a lost nation of people. You have no future, and there is no leader as well. It is almost like what we Sri Lankans are going through. You know, for some reason, we have allowed our country to go down to the depths because of our own rulers. And also it's our fault as well. So at that time, when the people had become so cynical, because all of them said, what can we do now? We are lost. We have no leaders. They're all corrupt. They all not proper leaders themselves. They cover each other. You know, as we say now, they're all the same. The cynicism of the people had taken over. So Isaiah, a man of God, comes out with hope in the hand of God reaching out to them, as well as the people reaching out, as we find here. So he comes out this beautiful image of God coming down and taking over their struggle, taking over their suffering, and leading them to a land or time of freedom. So therefore he says, say to those who have an anxious heart, be strong, fear not. Behold, your God will come with vengeance, with the recompense of God. So he will come and save you, he says, because when you find your life caught up in a land of complete cynicism, no hope, no strength within you, all what you say is, what can we do? We have no future. We have to just let it be. Or if possible, we run away. We save ourselves. We go to another country or whatever. But Isaiah says, be strong, you people, because there is a God who is reaching out to us. And it is time that we also reach out to the God who is coming to us. The second reading, my dear friends, from the letter of St. James was around the time of Jesus. And of course, it was also a time of repression and suffering for the people of Israel. What had happened in the history had happened again. The Assyrians had ruled and ruined. Babylonians had ruled and ruined. And the Persians had taken over Babylonia, and then they suffered under them. And the Egyptians came and took over their power and their freedom. And now it's another group of people, the Roman Empire. At that time, the people again had lost hope. Like Sri Lankans, history repeats all the time. We make mistakes, we are lost, and we make mistakes again, and then we are lost. So we do this continuous harm to our own nation and our country. So the Israelites also felt the same way. And St. James, again going through this time of suffering and hopelessness, and also the cynicism that had overpowered them, he says to them, be patient, brothers, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, being patient about it. So the message of James to the people at that time, be patient. Yes, it's not all good. It is not having any hopes for the immediate future. It's as if there is no one to save us. It's almost as if there is no one will take us over. But then the message of St. James was, let's have patience, because we believe in a higher power. The ultimate good will always be there for us. The evil cannot always reign supreme. Have hope. And that's where he calls for feeling or experience of joyfulness from the people. When you come to the gospel passage, my dear friends, again we encounter two individuals who were facing the domination of the Roman Empire at that time. One was John the Baptist, the other one was Jesus Christ. What were they doing? John the Baptist was someone who belonged to the priestly caste. He belonged to the priestly population. So for him, it would have been easier to be part of the temple in Jerusalem, make money, have a good life, have children, big houses, whatever the vehicles you can have, because King Herod would take care of you. And so therefore, John the Baptist had made a very clear choice at that time. That is, I will not be part of them. I will go away, and in my God, in my spirit, and trusting in God's power, let me do what I have to do. He was not a man who had given in to cynicism. He was not a man who had lost hope, but he brought in a lot of vigor into his speech and condemned Herod the Tetrarch. Now, what was the reason for John the Baptist to be now in prison? He condemned the priestly leadership. He condemned the political leadership. He condemned Herod the Tetrarch because he had got married to his own aunt. Because when you read the family tree of Herod, King Herod, who was in power during the time of the birth of Jesus Christ, had 15 wives, and he had 10 children. And Herodias was married to one of his sons. And Herod the Tetrarch, because again it was a family, they were ruling different parts of Judea and Galilee, and they had power, they had women, they had money, they did all what they wanted. So Herodias was the wife of one of the sons of Herod. So Herod the Tetrarch now is the ruler in the area where Jesus was and where John the Baptist was. He had now got married to his own aunt. So according to the Jewish law, you don't do that. So people were scared to tell them whatever wrong they did. There was a priestly caste in the temple in Jerusalem, didn't have the courage to challenge him. There were so many the Sadducees who were part of the priestly establishment. They were like the bishops and cardinals these days. So they were not willing to challenge him. It was this man, John the Baptist, who went before him and said, what you are doing is wrong. That's why John was finally taken away and was put in prison. So now John was a man who had hope for the country, for the people. He had hope in Jesus Christ, his own cousin. But now in prison he hears about Jesus, but he's not very happy about the way that Jesus was going about. Probably he thought that Jesus would come and roll things up and down. He would come and destroy the kingship at that time. So he sent his own disciples, because earlier on, Matthew chapter 3, you can find that John the Baptist was fully convinced when he baptized Jesus that this is the man. But now he had lost hope. So he's sending messages and asking him, are you the Messiah? Are you the one who is going to lead us? Or we have to wait for someone else? And when the disciples of John the Baptist came to Jesus, he has a very different answer. He says, go and tell him, the blind receive their sight, and the lame walk. Lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear, and the poor have good news preached to them. So in other words, Jesus tells him, both of us are in the same struggle. We are preaching against the political establishment. We don't accept them. We don't go with them. We are against the religious establishment. We condemn the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Both of us are in the same game, but you can't be myself, and I can't be you yourself. So the message here, my dear friends, the joy of life comes when we are reaching out to God and when God is reaching out to us. Yes, and doing what our inner heart and soul is calling us. But at the same time, as Jesus points out, I don't have to be your carbon copy, and you don't have to be my carbon copy. Let's appreciate each other and remember that we are two different individuals, but we are in the same cause. So therefore, my dear friends, today the liturgy of the Word reminds all of us that we will find the joy of life, the contentment of living when we have found our own inner calling. Each and every one of us are made and created for a mission. The question is, do I know my mission? Do I recognize what I have to do here and now for my own life, for my own family, and also for my own people and for my own country? Do I know what I have to do? Or am I a person who is given in to cynicism and I want to run away? I want to take care of my own stuff and leave aside what's going on around me. The liturgy of the Word today, my dear friends, is challenging because no matter what we do in life, when it comes to the final stages of life, the answer to the question, what have I done with my life, will come strong. So if we find the answer and do what we are called to do here and now, from within our hearts and souls, whatever we do and whatever we do not do will make us become who we are. And the meaning of life will emerge from within our souls.